Hello and good morning to everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This will be the first webinar in the Panta Rei series of webinar. Thank you for being here and thank you for staying safe and thank you for contributing to this situation who has everyone together on the same ship. We have taken this opportunity to do this series of webinars in order to try to share the information, to try to share knowledge about water and wastewater treatment. So as Panta Rei, we're welcoming you today and we hope you will be joining us also in all the series of webinars. We will now start our presentation. We will wait maybe a couple of minutes for some more people to join us. And please, we have just removed the audio for all the participants, as well as the video, in order to make this webinar faster for everyone in terms of connection. And if you have any questions after our presentation, please, you can use the chat. You can share with everyone the questions and the comments. And so any questions that you may have, you can put it on the chat option. You are always free to welcome in the chat application. And I will just send a test message now to everyone there. And that way we will be able to introduce the presentation. Okay, so we have 35 participants right now. Once again, thank you very much for joining us. I will kindly ask everyone if you can please use the chat application just to introduce yourselves and remove the video if it's faster for everyone that way, so that we can use the chat as means of communication. And we will be talking and we will be starting the presentation momentarily. Once again, for the people who had not joined before, we are Panta Rei. I'm doing this presentation along with my colleague, Mr. Mirko D'Antoni, and we are doing this on behalf of course, of Mr. Felicio Iraca from Panta Rei Water Solutions. Thank you very much for being here today. Thank you for joining us. And we will start our presentation about measures to be taken in the effluent treatment plant during the lockdown. Once again, thank you everyone for staying safe. Thank you everyone for contributing and for being here today. So we will start our presentation now. Well, about us, for anyone who is not familiar with us, we are an Italian company. We're focused on the water and wastewater treatment for the textile industries, and we have presence in basically all continents. We have a network of agencies around the world, and we have been working in this market for 12 years ago. Actually, in June, it will be 13 years. And many of our staff members had already been present in this territory, in all the territories with the textile industry, where the textile industry has developed even before then. So, regarding the quality, we're an ISO certified quality company. So we have quality standard certifications because this is one of our main goals, to provide a great product, a top quality product for everyone, guaranteeing sustainability as a guideline. As you may know also, we are part of the ZGHC program, Zero Discharge Hazardous Chemicals, and which has united partners and contributors from the common goal of guaranteeing water discharge with increasingly stringent parameters. This is part of our compromise with environmental sustainability. We are proud to be part of these organizations, and as many of you may already know, we are also an accredited training provider for this organization. That means that we share courses regarding wastewater treatment and wastewater treatment best practices as well. So we have more than 90 working ETPs, which more than 65 are located in Southeast Asia, which is our main market in terms of factories that we're serving right now. And we have a wide range of solutions, and the range includes borehole and well water treatment and goes to river water treatment for the production itself. I mean, the water that needs to be treated in order to be properly used in the production unit, and also the water recovery, passing, of course, through the treatment of the wastewater. So we'll present now the webinar schedule. We'll be having a series of webinars, which will be weekly. And this is the first one, which is about ETP lockdown measures. It's about what we have to do, what we need to do when production has ceased during, of course, the current conditions, and what are the best things to do with the suggestions that we can give you in order to improve this situation. Then the second webinar will be about fluff removal and heat efficiency in textile effluent treatment plants. It will be next Thursday, April 30. Then on May 7th, we will have the third webinar about the biological process in the effluent treatment plant. The fourth webinar will be about ETP equipment maintenance. Then we will have a webinar about zero discharge for hazardous chemicals, brought not to zero, that means ZDHC. Then we will have a membrane bioreactor webinar, which is about also new technologies for wastewater treatment. Then we will have sludge treatment solutions. And the last webinar for the moment for this series will be water and brine recovery systems. Well, about wastewater treatment plants, Panta Rei has always strived to provide environmentally friendly solutions. And well, you know, this is the main reason why we're here, to give solutions to everyone which are also state of the art, but at the same time that have low energy consumption, low running costs, because this is a must nowadays. And we'll try to provide always the best possible solutions with the best performance. The basic unit of a wastewater treatment plant, as many of you already know, is a biological plant. A biological plant which is able to remove and reduce the COD and the BOD, that means the biodegradation, in order to transform the organic matter into carbon dioxide and water. This is the basic unit, let's say. This is what we have to have in our wastewater treatment facility in order to be able to do some other treatments such as water recovery. The most important part of the biological effluent treatment plant is the biological oxidation section, in which the purification processes take place. That means that the microorganisms are the main workers here. They are the ones who are doing basically the main part of the work, who are removing these undesired parameters, the BOD and COD. And this is why we have to take very good care of these workers. We have a range of biological treatments, which can be the MBR, my membrane biological reactor, the conventional activated sludge. Each one has its own peculiarities. And during the presentation about the biological treatment plants, we will go deep into this matter. We will just give you a better explanation of each process. So right now, I will pass the word to Mr. Mirko D'Antoni, who is going to tell us about the best possible solutions during this lockdown period. So Mirko, the microphone is all yours. Please proceed.
Yes, thanks, Manuel, and thanks again to everyone for attending this first webinar. After the introduction, next please, Manuel. After the introduction, let's have a look on which procedure or decision we should take during the lockdown, since this critical period may cause an unavoidable economic emergency. During normal operations or conditions, textile processes produce a polluted effluent, which must be treated in the ETP. Part of this effluent consists of organic matter, which is the food for the bacteria we have in the oxidation tank. Next, please. These bacteria are able to consume this food using as electrons acceptor the oxygen contained in the airflow provided by the blowers. This interaction between bacteria, food, and oxygen gives as results CO2, which is dispersed in the atmosphere, and water. Next, please. Nowadays, due to COVID pandemic, in order to cope with the regulation and restrictions and to ensure the health of everyone, most of the factories are under production or completely closed. The consequence of these actions is to don't have any production and don't generate any food for the bacteria. Next, please. In this situation, the bacteria, without receiving any food, of course, is under stress. A sort of competition starts, and in order to survive, they need to find the food somewhere else. And the closest and best source of food, of alternative food, are the bacteria itself. And at the end, they start to eat each other. This biological process is called endogenous decay. Some bacteria, due to lack of food and due to competition rules, start to kill itself, releasing on the water media its intracellular material. This biological process is called cellular lysis. Now the question is, what to do during this period? Next, please. So we have two options, and depending on the current situation of every one of you, the best one could be option 1 or could be option 2. And option 1 would decide to keep the ETP running, even without any effluent coming from the factory. Of course, we need to provide the food to the bacteria, giving external carbon source, like molasses, glucose, or expired milk. And the operators on the field are needed every day. And option 2 instead would decide to turn off the ETP for all the lockdown period. In both options, there are pros and cons, and it's extremely important to evaluate your current situation in order to choose the best one. And option 1, we have only one pros, but it's very important. Why? Because most of the bacteria, the biomass, can survive, but also there are some cons. Keeping the ETP running, you are consuming a lot of energy, using a large amount of expensive chemicals to let the biomass survive. Also producing high amount of sludge that has to be waste. Just remember, keep in mind that there is no inlet, there is no outlet, and the hydraulic time is exactly equal to the lockdown period. High running and maintenance cost, of course. While in option 2, we have only one cause, which is that most of the bacteria will die. But look at the pros. No operators are needed, no energy consumption, no chemicals are required, no running and maintenance costs. So the ETP at the end of the lockdown period can start up again using dried bacteria. Now, let's make a small calculation just to understand the average costs if you choose option 1 and the average cost if you choose option 2. Next, please. Okay, in option 1, so keeping the ETP running, how is the procedure? you have to fill up the storage tank and use it as a reservoir during the lockdown period. You have to contact us in order to know the daily flow to be fed to the oxidation tank. Also, you have to contact us in order to know the required external carbon source that has to be added. By external and expensive carbon source, as well as nutrient like DAP. Then you have to keep some operators in the ETP for maintenance and operations. And please consider that undesired situation may arise at any given time. Now, if we consider on average the specific energy cost, which is 0.094 USD per meter cube, and on average, the specific chemical cost, including nutrient and external carbon source, of 0.083 USD per meter cube. So the total running cost will be 0.177 USD per meter cube. But keep in mind that the labor and unexpected costs are not included. So now, if for example, the design flow of your ETP is 2000 meter cube per day, the daily cost will be around 354 USD per day. And considering a lockdown period of 2 weeks, the total cost will be 5,310 USD. Next, please. Now, going to option 2. We decide to turn off the ETP during this period, which means we do not have any cost, no energy consumption, no chemical consumption. Running cost is 0. And for the total period, for the whole period of the lockdown, the cost, the running cost will be 0. After the lockdown, it's possible to use dried bacteria for reestablish their normal operation. Now, for example, the minimum amount of dried bacteria suggested is 100 kg. Of course, has to be studied case by case. But considering the specific cost of the dried bacteria of 21.85 USD per kg, the total cost at the end would be 2,185 USD, which is 2.43 times less than the running cost using additional chemicals. Now, after having a look to the operative and maintenance costs of both options, according to your current situation, you can choose which one is more suitable for your situation. Both options are valid and robust. Let's say option 1 could be good in short terms if the lockdown is less than 2 weeks. Option 2 is the best for long terms if the lockdown is higher than 2 weeks. So now that we have shown these 2 options, if you want to share your experience, your situation, if you have any question, just please type on the chat, and we are here to provide our answer.
Yes, so as Mirko just said, please feel free to share any questions in the chat section. Please make sure that the chat is for everyone so that we can all see the question and give any answer. Please feel free to do so, because right now we'll start our questions and answer session. I will just write a message to everyone just to make sure that we are on the same chat. Kindly share your questions. While you probably type, we will just inform you that this presentation will be made available in our website. So you can always check our website. I think probably next week it will be up. This Zoom presentation will be available for the in our website, so that you can check all the details, all the calculations that we shared here today. So in case you missed something, you can always go to our website, www.pantareiwater.com, and you will be able to find it. Okay, Mirko, I think we have a couple of questions here.
Okay. So,
Mr. Saidur from DBL is asking us how many days could be needed to get the previous quality through the dry bacteria.
Oh, yes, thanks for the question. Actually, it's a good question. Basically, is not the same time that you needed the first time, okay, for the startup. Why? Because the old sludge, let's say, that is inside the oxidation tank will be extractor for the new bacteria. So in a couple of weeks, you can reestablish the normal condition.
Okay, so we have also Mr. Ajay, the best method to restore the ETP after lockdown. So I think this is, Mirko will explain you further, but I think this is more or less what we were mentioning about the using the dry bacteria after the, so that the ETP can be taken back into its previous condition.
Yes, then there is an other question is the best method to restore the ETP after the lockdown. Yeah, this one has already explained. It depends on your current condition, which means if the lockdown is 1 week, 10 days, probably option 1 is the best one. If the lockdown is more than 2 weeks, of course, option 2 is the best one. Why? To avoid any useless costs, running costs, and you can restore the normal condition in a couple of weeks with dried bacteria.
Okay, so we have another question from Mr. Barua asking if they only have water in the oxidation tank, if bacteria can survive only giving dissolved oxygen.
No, Mr. Barua, of course, not only oxygen, otherwise there will be an endogenous decay. So that means the bacteria start to kill itself to survive. This is why without any incoming water is needed an external carbon source that could be molasses, sugar, glucose, methanol, or expired milk. Why? In order to have the same organic load and to keep the biomass survive. So this is why if you keep the ETP running, you need nutrients, DAP, and you need carbon source, and this one is an chemical costs, additional chemical costs.
Exactly, this is what we're explaining, because bacteria need to eat. So either, as Mirko explained, we give external carbon source. Otherwise, another option is the one that we're presenting here about restarting the ETP by using dry bacteria. I see also a question from Mr. Amimul. I think, Mirko, you are also seeing it, right, in the chat?
Yeah. Yes, this one, Amimul, okay, 20 kg, I think is not a good quantity because as written, we suggest 100 kg. Why? Especially for the ATP where you work, so it is big ATP, okay, with a high organic load. So then depends also on the time of the lockdown, the site from your factory. I'm sure it's more than 2 weeks. So of course you need more bacteria. 20 kg is not enough.
So Okay, so we have one question from Mr. Barua.
Mm-hmm.
Also here that they will restart next Saturday the ETP.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, of course, we can also propose more customized solutions or dry bacteria scenarios through our agents. So I see the questions that what measures we take after lockdown. We know our current ETP conditions. Well, as we mentioned, after the lockdown, of course, you need to restart the ETP, and unless some external food sources are given at this point, then you need to restart the ETP by giving more bacteria, more microorganisms into the ETP, and you can do it by adding dry bacteria, as we're mentioning, because these are the two alternatives that we have been discussed. Yes.
Yes. Also, let's say regarding the question, which parameter we should consider. Of course, after the lockdown, if let's say in both options, you should measure the MLVSS, which is the alive biomass, the biomass that deplete the organic matter. So measuring the MLVSS and of course also MLSS by this ratio, volatile total solids, you can understand the quality of the sludge that is inside the oxidation tank.
Yes. Okay, so one more thing about the temperature for the bacteria. Well, where you have already, they are saying that they have already drums of dry bacteria. The important thing is that this bacteria is kept in a cool and place and without a lot of humidity if possible, so that it's in a dry and cool place. So it's important not to store the bacteria under the sun, for example. So it should be good to store it inside maybe a warehouse in the shade.
Yes, then the other question regarding what use instead of DAP. You can use urea, okay? You can use phosphorus, orthophosphates. I mean, like nutrients you should dose are ammonium and phosphate. So in which form you want to dose, you can choose the chemicals you want. Then there is another question written by Hassan. It says, since the lockdown has already been implemented for some period, some plants are facing filamentous bacteria generation. So in this scenario, would you suggest them to discharge existing sludge and to use dry bacteria, or can they still use the AP? Okay. Yes, filamentous bacteria could be one of the problem keeping the ETP running. Why? Because it's difficult using external carbon source to ensure the perfect F2M ratio. So which means the proper process conditions are not the best one. And some filamentous bacteria can grow. If the proliferation is too high, of course, the condition of the sludge will be affected. So this is why if you can see a lot of filamentous bacteria, let's say in the index of 4 or 5, yes, it is recommended to start to discharge, to waste some sludge, try to use a seed. Let's say you can take a sludge from another ETP, or you can use again dry bacteria and start again the inoculation, okay? And during this new startup, you still have to dose nutrients for the bacteria to let the bacteria to grow exponentially.
Okay, so we have also some questions regarding the plant capacity and the amount of bacteria needed. Okay, so in our presentation, we made the example of a 2,000 cubic meter per day effluent treatment plant. So according to this you can make more or less a proportion, just roughly speaking, because of course there are several factors, but just to make a rough proportion, you can use the information in our slide in order to determine more or less how much bacteria will be needed. Regarding the presentation, it will be available because they are asking about email, but it will be actually available through our website. So I think that in around 1 week, it will be uploaded into our website.
Yes, there is also another interesting question by Mohamed Anar. During the dosing food, what should we consider, the MLSS or MLBSS to calculate the food amount? Which will be more accurate? Actually, so it's a good question. Actually, the dosing of external carbon source is to guarantee the design parameter, which means if your ETP as a design as 2000 kg of COD per day, independently of your MLSS and MLBSS, you have to dose the right amount of external carbon source to have exactly the same organic load written in the design parameter. And this question is very good. Why? Because since it's not strictly related to the biomass, it's not possible to ensure 100% the right and the suitable F to M ratio. So thanks for the question.
So there are some other questions about the plant capacity 9,000 cubic per day. Temperature DO is okay for that condition. Well, of course, that's a general question. Regarding the dissolved oxygen in the oxidation tank, we always say around 2 milligrams per liter of DO, and temperature in the oxidation tank around 35, 38 degrees are the optimum conditions. And we have another question, Mirko, regarding DAP as well, if you can see it.
Oh, yeah, yes. The question is regarding DAP and if dosing, adding the DAP can increase only filamentous bacteria. Actually, no. DAP will be used from cell-formed bacteria, not from filamentous bacteria, and reestablish the normal condition and allowing the growing of the flat former bacteria. The filamentous bacteria will be depleted basically. So filamentous bacteria can grow for several reasons. That could be a very low F2M, very high F2M, low oxygen, high oxygen, temperature, several factors actually. But in this situation, during the lockdown, if you dose the external carbon source, probably the filamentous bacteria can grow because it's not possible to guarantee the correct F2M ratio. Of course, also depending on the F2M, depending on the food that you are given, depending on the biomass you have inside the oxidation tank, also the DO will be not constant, not 2 milligram per liter, 2.5 milligram per liter.
Okay. So if there are no further questions, I would like to repeat that probably next week, this presentation will be made available through our website, www.pantareiwebinar.com. And also, please save the date for next week, since at the same time, we will have another presentation, the upcoming presentation, webinar number 2, as per our schedule, always at the same time. So it's 11 a.m. Italian time, which is 2 p.m. Pakistan time, 2:30 p.m. India, 3 p.m. Bangladesh, and 4 p.m. Indonesia. We have another question that came in just now. During this lockdown, all the supplies are stopped. So what we should do right now, I think that as Mirko said, that we have the option, see if we cannot add, or we do not want to add some external carbon sources, some external food for the bacteria, then we should consider the dry bacteria as an option in this case. that can be applied after the lockdown period is over.
Okay, if there is no...
Okay, to Hassan. Hassan, yes, as we mentioned, it will be made available through our website.
Oh, there is this really last question that basically, of course, the procedures of your ETP Jai was not good, because now you can find a lot of that sludge. Basically, now you have to waste. You have to stop the blower, drain, let the sludge settle down, drain water and waste the sludge, and then you have to restart again. Without giving any food or any nutrients, of course, the biomass start to kill each other, to hit each other. So it's a logic consequence.
Yes, they start a war, a bacterial war, let's say.
Yeah,
because,
Yes,
because they want food, but there is no food.
It's like a jungle, it's a competition.
Yes, just for everyone who's asking for the presentation, once again, please, it will be sent, it will be available through our website at www.pantareiwebinar.com.
Yes, we will share all the details to our agent that will forward to every one of you. So thanks again to everyone for attending the webinar. We hope it was of your interest. Let us know which option you have decided to follow. Stay tuned, okay, because as already Manuel said, we have next week the other webinar on fluff removal and heat efficiency. Yes. So thanks again, stay home, stay safe, and see you soon.
Thank you everyone for attending this webinar. We hope to see you next week. And right now, all of our agents will be receiving the schedule that we shared in this presentation. That means all the dates and the topics of the webinars will be made available through our agents, and they will be available online as well. So you can always contact our agents. You can always visit our website. And also our agents will be getting an email by the end of this week about the link for next week's meeting. We'll have another Zoom meeting, so you will get the password and the link and the meeting ID through them. So thank you very much everyone for attending us. As Mirko said, stay home, stay safe, and we will see you here next week at Panta Rei Webinar. Thanks again. Bye everyone, and thanks again.